This is a Glendale Library Arts and Culture program, created for teens, edited and hosted by the Teen Library staff. Check out community service opportunities and teen events down in the description box.
Hi everyone, it's Melissa.
And Desiree.
Welcome to the guest episode of Teen Gen Talks.
Today's guest has fought as an intersectional climate justice activist from Los Angeles, California for the past 9 years. Growing up with severe heart issues due to Los Angeles poor air quality, in 2019 he funded One Up Action International. Through his work with One Up Action, he has collaborated with the community to create the first of its kind Youth Climate Commission in LA County to amplify youth voices on the climate crisis.
Grab a snack and drink, and let's welcome Kevin Patel to Teen Gen Talks.
Yay!
Thank you, Kevin, for taking the time out of your day to talk with us. We have a lot to discuss.
Thank you for having me.
So to start off, I want to talk about how your journey as an intersectional climate justice activist came to be.
Yeah, definitely. I started at the age of 11, really noticing the food inequalities and food, South Central Los Angeles, where I grew up, is a food prison. That was termed by Ron Finley, aka the gangster gardener, who I'm such a, huge, a fan or he inspires me to really do this work. And just seeing these inequalities and injustices that are happening in my community of South Central Los Angeles led me to, see if other community members, my peers, fellow students knew about them as well. And I really wanted to do something about it. At the time, in middle school, first, starting my 6th grade year. So I was just starting my first year in middle school. And I really just, we had a huge garden and they were not utilizing it. I just wanted to make sure that students have access to this garden so they know that you can grow your own food. Because when I was asking students about, where food comes from, a lot of them didn't even know where food came from. A lot of them said it was the grocery store, like fast food chains, and that was it. Like you didn't know food was being able to grow. I found it sad because it was definitely something that like kids don't know that they can grow their own food, and that's just like I really wanted to make sure that my peers understood that we can grow our own food, and that we're living in a community that is disproportionately affected by these inequalities and injustices. And so that's where I really began in my journey of teaching students about food inequalities. But then, second semester of my 6th grade year, I was directly impacted by, the air and smog pollution that Los Angeles is ravaged with. And I now have to live with irregular heartbeat and heart palpitations for the rest of my life because of that. And that journey really took me from, seeing these inequalities and injustices that are happening in, South Central Los Angeles to really being affected by these inequalities and injustices. And that, I was already acting at a very young age, but then just that led me to, it's not just me that's being affected, it's everyone in my community that's being affected. And I really wanted to say enough is enough. I wanted to do something about it. And ever since then, it's been 9 years that I've been advocating for climate justice and making sure that my community knows about these important issues and they're able to act upon them.
You founded One Up Action International in 2019. Can you talk a little bit more about the organization and the inspiration behind it?
Definitely. The whole vision of One Up Action, ironically, it was launched in September 23rd, which was the UN General Assembly, but ironically, it was also my birthday. Um, so I was attending the UN General Assembly, and I just noticed how many, in the climate movement, I've been in the climate movement for well over 9 years, and I've seen how much the climate movement has been, white dominated, and really white and white passing people have really had the power and amplification to get their messages across about saving the national parks or doing what they benefits their community in the sense of environmentalism, and really not focusing on the people who are directly impacted by the climate crisis, which is marginalized communities, low income communities, BIPOC communities, which is Black, Indigenous people of color. And so not only are we not being amplified, but we're not getting the power to make the decisions on behalf of our community to really act upon a climate crisis. And I really just said, I think being in the movement for so long and just still seeing these, these disconnects about how, yes, we want climate justice, but climate justice, justice for who, right? And really looking at that, because if we're not being amplified and we're not having, a seat at the table, then who really does have the power in these movements, right? And so when I first got involved 9 years ago, I just saw how white dominated it was, and I had no help. I literally had to make my own resources, make my own path to make sure that not only my voice, but the voices of my community are heard, and those that are most affected by this crisis are heard. And so the whole idea of One Up Action is to give resources to our community so that not only are they amplified, but they're able to really take climate action, and they're able to have that power to not only be amplified, but they are able to make those decisions on behalf of their community. So in 2019, I was able to found One Up Action International, which not only amplifies young marginalized voices, but uplifts them and supports them with the resources needed to take climate action. And just recently we launched two programs, two of which are international, one of which is still coming out, which is going to be US domestic. But the two programs that we have launched is our action chapters, and our action chapters are basically international. We have chapters in Europe, many chapters in different countries in Africa, Asia, South America, Australia, India, even Canada. And so that's definitely one of the programs that makes me happy. And then another program, our second program, is the Youth Climate Commission program, which within the city of Los Angeles, actually LA County, sorry, the Los Angeles County, me, with along with a good friend of mine, Delaney Michelson, got to pass the first ever in the world and first ever in the nation Youth Climate Commission to basically amplify young people, to not only get in politics and have their voices amplified, but also making sure that they have power to make the decisions on behalf of their community. So really, young people don't have the political power. That's the reason why we're marching. That's the reason why we're striking. That's the reason why we're going and organizing to have our voices heard. And the Youth Climate Commission is not only making our voices heard, but it's giving us the power to really act on behalf of our communities. And then our last program that we'll be launching, hopefully by the end of the year or next year, is the Youth Innovators Fund, which is going to support nature-based solutions and young people who are disproportionately affected by the climate crisis, but also don't get the opportunities to go to the Google Science Fair or work for NASA or JPL or any of these opportunities that affluent community members get to do. So just having and supporting science within marginalized in communities, and just making sure that we're supporting the ideals and amplifying their voices as well. And so literally One Up Action has turned into something so wonderful. Last year was just about amplifying. Now it's all about resources and making sure that we're able to support these communities.
You are also UN Together Band Ambassador for Goal 14 and currently serve as the 2020 National Geographic Young Explorer. How did the opportunities come to be?
The UN Together Band Ambassador or Together Band Ambassador shifts. I'm actually Goal 13 and 14's ambassador. I just recently became a Goal 13 ambassador for climate action. And then Goal 14 is Life Below Water. Life Below Water was the first I share a band. So I'm a co-ambassador with Life Below Water for Goal 14 with my good friend Bonnie Wright, who played Ginny Weasley on Harry Potter. And she basically was the one that shared her band to make me an ambassador. So that's how that opportunity came about. And then they reached out again to make, just recently in September, to make me a Goal 13 ambassador. And there are official ambassadors, and then there's over many ambassadors. So many people can become ambassadors for Goal 13 and just buy the band and you're an ambassador yourself. And so that's amazing. And then, yeah, there's over 25 or 26, I think. I'm not too sure on the number. National Geographic Young Explorers throughout the United States and throughout the world, actually. And I am one of the 25, I believe. Uh, I am one of the 25. This opportunities came about being nominated from, one of the people that I knew, one of my close friends actually nominated me. That's how the opportunity came about. I'm so happy to serve as a National Geographic Young Explorer for 2020 and work with them to really expand, our reach to make sure that resources are getting to marginalized communities.
And how do you recommend anyone to educate themselves more on climate change?
Definitely. I feel like this is one of the hardest questions I've gotten so far is like, how can we educate ourselves, right, on climate? Some people tend to just say climate change doesn't exist, but it does. You know, you have to really look at the communities that are directly impacted right now because climate change in the long run is going to affect every single person. And so I think the simple answer is to learn and grow. Look at the inequalities and injustices that are happening to communities of color and marginalized communities and low income communities and just look at those and take those in and educate yourselves on that and see what you can do, but most of all educate others, not just going in a circle, because we all have our little bubbles and our little circles where we tend to create an echo chamber and that information doesn't get out to a wider audience. So we really need to break that echo chamber and making sure that we're spreading this information and this knowledge, because climate change is not an opinion, it's a fact. Communities are, on the brink of total disaster. We're in midst of the sixth mass extinction. Plants and animals are going extinct at a fast rate. So it's not just the people that are being affected by this crisis, it's the planet. And so when we're talking about educating ourselves, we make sure that we're not only educating ourselves, but we take these actions. And I wouldn't be able to give actions because there's so many out there. Don't just do systematic action. Just don't just go to protest. Do your individual action. Take individual action and do the systematic action. And I always talk about how we're walking the walk, but we're also talking the talk. And so politicians, once they see that, then they'll want to talk the talk and walk the walk. And that's the argument that I like to use, is that if they're just talking the talk, they're going to, say to us, why aren't we doing it? Right. But we're able to hit back right away and say, well, we're already doing it. What are you doing? Right. And so we really need to start instituting these bold climate policies. And the way we're going to do that is by educating ourselves, educating others, taking actions, and looking for action. It's so easy to go on Ecosia and search up all these actions and go on a search engine and just search up all these actionable steps to take climate action. There's so much information out there. Educate yourself. It's so important. I think also making sure that your environmentalism or your climate justice work is surrounded by intersectionality, because all these issues are intertwined.
You serve on the Utopia World Circle of Youth Council, the Climate Power 2020 Council, and the Intersectional Environmentalist Council. How important is it for you to be part of these councils, and what is something you want to accomplish while serving in the councils?
The Climate Power 2020 Council was basically a political council, giving voice to how President Trump and this administration has really failed. Not only did we leave the Paris Climate Accord, we're the only country in the world that has left the Paris Climate Accord, which is such an embarrassing statement for the United States and this nation in general, and saying that we left the Paris Climate Accord. But not only that, but we rolled back, I think, well over 100 environmental protections and regulations that are protecting our basic human rights: clean air, clean water, clean food, things that we as people of this nation deserve. And so I think one of the things that, Climate Power 2020 really gave me was that voice to say enough is enough. And it's so important to really get our voices out there. Every young voice matters, not just mine. I'm not the only voice out there. I come from a lived experience, but I know that so many people, so many young people in Southern California and South Central Los Angeles in general, they live so many different lived experiences. I come from a background of being affected by air and smog pollution, but my friend Nayeli is being affected by the fossil fuel industry. So you can just see, and she comes from the same community as I do, South Central Los Angeles. So it's definitely understanding that we all come from lived experiences, using those lived experiences to tell the truth and spread the facts. We're already being affected. And so Climate Power 2020 has really given me that voice and amplification to get that message out there. They're saying that we really truly need change. The Circle Friends, the same thing. This is an international council, really amplifying my voice and making sure that we're taking action to, global climate action and supporting young innovators. And then the Intersectional Environmental Council is one of, I think one of the most important councils that I've ever been on. Started by Leah Thomas, really starting the word intersectional environmentalism. Intersectionality is coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, but this whole notion of intersectional environmentalism, when our work is intersectional, we're able to truly understand how Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, and all these social justice issues are intertwined with one another. because the climate crisis is perpetrated by the same systems of oppression that are perpetrating all these other injustices and inequalities. So we really truly need to understand that. And once we do, we're able to really fight off not only the systems of oppression, but really we can get, the people that are affected by these injustices and inequalities can get true justice. And so intersectional environmentalism is so important to me, and we have to make sure that we understand that all these issues are intertwined, and we just have to look at it in a big picture. Intersectional environmentalism also means that we're not only fighting for the people, me and you, right? We're fighting for the people and the planet. We're fighting for the plants and the animals and Mother Earth in general.
And you're also pursuing your undergraduate degree in poli-sci at Loyola Marymount University. What do you hope to do with it after graduating?
I definitely don't want to become a politician. I'm a grassroots organizer. I started my work with my community, the community that I love and I grew up with. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. We still face so many inequalities and injustices, whether that be from the homelessness crisis on our unhoused community members. Sorry, let me not say homeless. Let me say unhoused community members, because they're literally community members that are unhoused right now. Whether that be to the environmental racism and all of this other stuff that's happening within the city of Los Angeles and in my community of South Central Los Angeles. And so I really just want to work grassroots and making sure that I'm able to fight with my community, because I definitely know even without a even without a political science degree, I'm able to fight for my community by putting up motions in Los Angeles County and having an idea and having it go from an idea to being actually something that's first ever in the world, right? Things are possible, whether you put your mind to it or not. And so I just think I really would want to use my political science degree for good work for my community. And I think not just my community, but communities are all around the world.
Before we end, we have some rapid fire questions. First question is, what is your favorite color?
My favorite color, as you can see, is blue. A lot of people always tend to say, Kevin, this is a iconic blue wall. And definitely it's my favorite color. Everything around me is blue. So yeah.
What is something you have been proud to say that you have accomplished?
Oh, there are many things. There are so many things I can say that I'm proud to accomplish. There's small victories I'm proud to say. I'm a pessimistic person, but I can definitely be optimistic about the future. And I think one of the things I'm most proudest of is being able to pass the Youth Climate Commission. It was an idea in my head, but I took that idea and I bring my good friend along with me and said, let's pass this in the city of, in LA County. And we got to do it.
What is some advice that you wish you would have known when you were younger?
One of the advices I would say is that there are going to be so many obstacles and adversities that are going to come your way. No matter what comes your way, never let that deter you from doing what you want to do or what you love to do, because that's definitely so important. I think choose your own course, no matter what obstacles and adversities come your way.
Could you describe yourself as a teenager in 3 words?
Quirky. I was very funny. A lot of people thought I was funny. But also very, outgrown, because I was definitely someone that bring on a persona of being, an adult and really looking at this mindset of like looking for the future and thinking about my future.
If you could have any superpower, what superpower would you have?
This might sound so weird. I think one of the superpowers I would love to have is to bring peace, right? I think one of the things that people want to fly, people want to have the ability to have x-ray vision. But one of the things that I really would want to have a superpower of is bringing peace to the world, because definitely there's so much discord happening around the world. And I think one of the things that I tend to see is that we need a little bit more peace so that we're able to really see ourselves as humans first.
If you could have 3 people dead or alive for dinner, who would it be?
Wow. This is quite a hard question. Beethoven, one of them. I listen to Beethoven. Michael Jackson, I heard his music a lot. Whitney Houston, another one. Let's go into the live category. I would love to have dinner with Adele, President Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Oprah. There's so many. I can't just pick 3. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. What does success for you mean right now?
Success, wow. It's just the ability to make a difference. even if that's a small difference, that is what success looks for me. And I think that making those small strides is what I look forward to, is that it takes a whole village to make a difference, but it takes one person to realize the difference that he's making. If you're able to plant a tree and see that tree, grow, then you're definitely able to make that difference.
What is a book that you have recently read or currently reading that you would recommend?
I would recommend The Sixth Extinction by Elizabeth Kolbert. Yeah, and I'm just looking at it right now. I'm rereading it actually. So it's also important to understand how humans have had an effect on the planet and how we're really causing the sixth mass extinction. So yeah, this is one of the books that I'm reading that is quite fascinating and quite sad, to be honest.
Thank you so much, Kevin. We learned a lot about you. Thank you for taking the time every day to talk with us. Can you let everyone at home know about any upcoming projects and where they can connect with you?
Definitely. First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me on here. Um, and I would say some actionable steps that you guys can take to follow me. You guys can follow my journey at One Up Action, which is the organization that I'm the executive director of. But you can also follow me on my personal account, which is at I'm Kevin J. Patel. If you guys want more information on One Up Action, you can visit oneupaction.org, and you can definitely check us out and support us any way you can, whether that be joining our team or even donating to our cause. And yeah, because it's not only helping marginalized communities, but it's also amplifying them.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And it's amazing everything that you're doing. And yeah, just thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me, y'all. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. It's Desiree again.
And Melissa,
Did you enjoy this episode?
I'm sure you did.
Then please make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications for this channel.
Check out the teen content video playlist here and our latest Teen Gen episode here.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.